Today we're taking the new facelifted Golf 7 out for a spin. The car comes with a brand new 1.5-liter TSI Evo engine, replacing the old 1.4-liter TSI engine. The 4-cylinder turbo engine also has an output of 110 kilowatts and comes with active cylinder management. Our car tester Matas Kurat says VW introduced the Golf in 1974, and it has been with us now for 7 generations. Worldwide sales have topped 33 million vehicles. That makes it one of Germany's best-selling cars ever. And Germans simply love the VW Golf. And so it's no surprise VW is unveiling its latest Golf on the island of Mallorca. The island is also much loved by Germans. The Golf's new 7-speed dual-clutch transmission is said to save up to 0.3 liters of petrol per 100 kilometers. Matas says this Golf is as agile and easy to handle as its predecessor, as its performance on these narrow, winding roads in northern Mallorca shows. Matas can tell the Golf has replaced xenon headlights with new full LED ones in the top-of-the-range version. But halogen headlights are still in the fewer frills package. LED daytime running lights are now a standard feature. So is the novel front fascia, as well as full LED taillights. Further options include animated flowing indicators and chrome trim panels. A digital 12.3-inch active info display instrument cluster is an optional extra. It's fully customizable. Drivers can choose which information they want displayed. The Discover Pro infotainment system is fitted in the center console. It comes with a 9.2-inch touchscreen with optional gesture control and a customizable home screen. In everyday use, many people will probably prefer using the conventional touchscreen. Either way, the Discover Pro infotainment system is intuitive to handle. The App Connect system lets you use a selection of smartphone apps. That makes it more user-friendly and safer too. But a volume dial would have been handy. Matas admits the new face-lifted Golf 7 won't set your pulse racing, but it's a reliable car. All VW Golfs have been like that. Customers have come to appreciate their familiar layout, making the driving experience intuitive. VW do that really well. Matas' verdict: the Golf 7 is a great car with a reasonable starting price of 18,000 euros. But this basic version obviously doesn't come with the high-end features. You'll only have the basic infotainment system, which is now standard, but no active info display. And you'll only get a 1-liter 3-cylinder petrol engine, not the 1.5-liter engine with an output of 110 kilowatts, which we tested. It's far more responsive than its 1.4-liter predecessor. Either way, the facelifted Golf remains a really reliable car.
Und das ändert sich auch mit dem Update der 7. Generation nicht.
The high-end Golf 7 that we tested, however, comes at a hefty price tag of 40,000 euros in Germany. Winter adventures in the snow. You need a vehicle with all-wheel drive to cope with these extreme conditions, and no one knows how to deal with snow and ice better than the Swedes. From the outside, the new cross-country model doesn't look very different from a standard V90, apart from its protective body cladding and a ground clearance of 21 centimeters. It also comes with typical Volvo LED headlights. The crossover model aims to combine design with functionality. Our car tester Michelle Assenmacher says she thinks the Volvo V90 Cross Country looks just as great inside as out because it's well made and feels good to the touch. The digital and touchscreen displays almost lend the car a futuristic look. This is not completely new terrain for Volvo. The Swedish car makers brought out their first cross-country model 20 years ago, the smaller V70 XC. With the V90 Cross Country, Volvo wants to give motorists the freedom to get out and about in the country without the need for an SUV. And Michelle says that driving the V90 Cross Country is practically like driving an SUV. The additional ground clearance means a higher ride and a better view of the road and the hood. All-wheel drive comes as standard in the luxury vehicle. We're testing the most powerful diesel D5 Pro with an output of 173 kilowatts. It takes the practically 2-ton vehicle 7.5 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. In Germany, the car will set you back around 63,500 euros. Our car tester says the V90 Cross Country's road holding feels as stable as a train on a track, but it has plenty of go at the same time. As soon as she nudges the accelerator, the car really takes off. You can choose from 4 different types of engine, with performance outputs ranging from 140 to 235 kilowatts. Volvo wants access to as many possible markets worldwide. Michelle says that it's fun to drive the cross-country on normal roads. Now she's going to really put it through its paces and see how it performs in snow and ice. To safely test the car, we are using a special track. But first, we're going to switch off the electronic stability control. On rough ground, the V90 Cross Country becomes a real fun ride. Our car tester says she would never normally disable the electronic stability control function and drive around on an icy stretch at 30 to 40 kilometers an hour. But here, it's really enjoyable. And thanks to the all-wheel drive, the car quickly regains control. Driven like this, the tail does swing out a bit in the curve, but it quickly gets back on track. You need a sensitive touch, but it's great fun. The Volvo V90 Cross Country isn't just a safe choice for on-road driving conditions, it's also really fun off-road. This is not just a practical, sensible car, it's also a toy for grown-ups. British luxury car maker Bentley is introducing its most powerful model yet, the 2017 Continental Supersports. Its 6-liter 12-cylinder engine produces a whopping 522 kilowatts of power. That propels the car from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 3.5 seconds. The new car is also the fastest Bentley ever, achieving a top speed of 336 kilometers an hour. The Continental Supersports is also available as a convertible. Prices start at 267,000 euros in Germany. Honda is bringing out the 10th generation of its Civic Compact. On the outside, the hatchback has grown. The model is 14 centimeters longer and 3 centimeters wider than its predecessor. It's also flatter. Combined with its long wheelbase and short overhangs, that gives the Civic a particularly sporty look. Under the hood, there's a newly developed 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine. The 134-kilowatt power plant produces a maximum 240 newton-meters of torque. In 2015, Mazda launched the fourth generation MX5, much to the delight of die-hard fans and new buyers. Recently, the millionth MX5 rolled off the assembly line. Now, the Mazda MX5 is also available as a so-called retractable fastback in Germany. The fastback designation derives from the car's sloping roofline. Its brand new rear and the highly visible rear fins give the MX5 RF a unique look. Aside from this, few changes were made to the design. Our car tester Emmanuel Schaefer says with previous MX5 models, drivers could simply retract the soft top by hand. That's no longer possible with the new MX5 RF. Unlike other car makers who allow you to retract the roof using your car key, MX5 RF drivers must push and hold a button on the center console to retract the roof. Opening up the roof takes less than 15 seconds. The MX5 RF is currently available with just one kind of engine. It has an output of 118 kilowatts and accelerates the car from 0 to 100 kilometers in 7.4 seconds. The MX5 RF can reach a top speed of 215 kilometers an hour. The engine is also available with a 6-speed automatic transmission that relieves drivers from shifting gears, though for many, that's one of the joys of driving a roadster. Emmanuel says he's cruising along at 60 kilometers an hour. It's pretty windy, although the side windows are up. He can feel the cold. With an outside temperature of just 7 degrees Celsius, he opts to close the roof. But the car won't let him. Emmanuel can't believe he must slow down to 10 kilometers an hour. Now that he's slowed down, our tester can close the roof. He's not impressed. Emmanuel would much prefer to operate the roof up to speeds of 50 or at least 30 kilometers an hour. But that's a minor quibble, considering this is Mazda's first fully automatic roof. The MX5 RF's interior has a refined, sporty quality, just like the MX5 soft top convertible. And of course, like any proper roadster, the MX5 RF comes with a manual handbrake. It also has bucket seats with red decorative elements. They're a standard feature. Few additional options are available for the MX5 RF. The exception, a sat-nav system and a tech package that includes park distance control. Both are available for 700 euros, but real roadster fans will surely be content without these additions. The MX5 RF is much quieter than the MX5 soft-top version. That's because Mazda has added extra insulation to the body and roof, making for a more enjoyable driving experience. Emmanuel says he's never been a fan of soft-top convertibles, which is why he's really pleased with the MX5 RF hardtop. He admits that it's a little more expensive than the soft-top version and that opening and closing the roof is not quite so simple. But Emmanuel much prefers the MX5 RF's new, sporty design, which outshines the MX5 soft-top. In Germany, the starting price for the MX5 RF is just under 29,000 euros. In the highly competitive van market, 3 manufacturers, Citroen, Peugeot, and Toyota, have combined forces and designed a new generation of MPVs. The Citroen Space Tourer, the Peugeot Traveler, and Toyota Pro-Ace share the same platform and technical features. The main differences are aesthetic. The front end of Citroen's MPV looks friendly but brawny. The typical chrome grille emphasizes its girth. The van currently comes in two different body lengths. We're testing the shorter one in the range, which measures almost 5 meters. At first glance, the tail end looks pretty classic in design, but it includes a practical feature when you're parked in a tight space. You don't need to open the entire tailgate fully to get access to the interior. Our car tester Reinhold Dijsselhofer says even the rear window opens. That's handy when you're loading up. The French manufacturers also had some clever ideas inside. There's lots of stowage space and a rotary gear selector. We're testing the top trim level Shine. Safety features include a driver alert and a collision warning system. The head-up display projects key information into the driver's field of vision. At the press of a button, the sliding doors open. Our model carries 7 people comfortably, but it can seat up to 9. There are also practical folding tables in the second row. The Space Tour has a maximum of 4,500 liters of cargo space, says Reinhold, and yet at 1.9 meters in height, it's low enough to fit into an underground parking garage. Inside, there's a full leather trim and individual rear seats. That makes the Space Tour a real alternative to the Volkswagen multivan. There are 4 diesel engines available. We tested the most powerful, a 2-liter diesel with an output of 130 kilowatts. It can reach speeds of 170 kilometers per hour. Average fuel consumption is 5.7 liters per 100 kilometers. In Germany, this particular van would cost over 51,000 euros. The lowest end version would set you back some 35,000 euros. As with any manufacturer, anyone who wants a high spec for their vehicle will have to dig deep into their pockets. Classic car expert Christoph Bauer is taking a Renault 4CV out for a spin. It was the first French car to sell more than 1 million units. During World War II, Louis Renault and some of his engineers covertly created its concept and design. Christoph says Louis Renault had already built his first car back in 1898. Together with his brothers, he founded the company Société Renault Frères. Before the Second World War, they were considered specialists at making trucks and luxury cars. And during the German occupation, the Wehrmacht forced them to build utility vehicles. After the war, Renault was nationalized and focused on bringing mobility to the masses. Soon, it had just the right vehicle to do that, the Renault 4CV. Louis Renault didn't live to see the 4CV make its debut. In 1944, he was accused of collaborating with the Nazis and arrested. He died in prison while awaiting trial. But Louis Renault's final creation sold like hotcakes. Customers waited up to 36 months for delivery of their 4CV, though for many, it wasn't exactly love at first sight. Christoph says the 4CV was ridiculed when it debuted at the Paris Motor Show in 1946. The public dubbed it Le Mot de Beurre, or the lump of butter, due to its shape and sand yellow color. The color was chosen for cost reasons, as Renault still had lots of surplus paint once used for the army vehicles of the German Afrika Korps. In Germany, the 4CV had a nicer nickname, the Cream Cake. Due to the success of the 4CV, Renault's factory in Boulogne-Billancourt was transformed into one of the most modern car plants in Europe. Within 2 years, production rose from 12 vehicles per day to 450. In France, the innovative 4CV was loved by everyone, large or small.
Chacun sa porte. 4 places, 4 portes, 4 chevaux.
Christoph says that even in 1960, 15 years after it was first introduced, a German car magazine praised the 4CV as an exemplary, full-fledged small car. It's easy to handle and operate, is well laid out, well made, and comfortable enough. At normal speeds, it runs smoothly and handles well. Only when pushed to its limits does the car demonstrate the twitchy handling typical of rear-engine models. But he notes that, in the right hands, the 4CV even works as a race car. It had class victories in the 24-hour Le Mans, the Mille Miglia, and the Monte Carlo Rally. Still, the Renault 4CV had to be one of the most unlikely race cars of all time. Christoph says so-called suicide doors were common in the auto industry until the 1950s. And on this four-door Renault, the hinges for both the front and rear doors are attached to the B-pillar. Not only does it look good, it also reduces weight and costs. So do the simple vent windows and the Spartan seats. The car's progressive elements included its hydraulic brakes and its monocoque body, whose shape resembles the VW Beetle. Hardly surprising given that streamlined styles were in vogue both in Germany and France at the time. The Renault 4CV is a little masterpiece of engineering. It's almost 3.7 meters long, yet weighs less than 600 kilos. And it's a four-door model, which seats four comfortably. The workmanship is of high quality, and all of its details are well thought out. The 4CV may be simple in design, but there's nothing cheap about it. Christoph loves this wonderful lever which opens up the front hood. Though here there's nothing to see but a spare tire and a bit of luggage space. That's because the motor is at the rear, just like with a VW Beetle. Though the 4CV has a water-cooled four-cylinder engine, not an air-cooled boxer, Christoph says the engine is reliable, easy to maintain, and most importantly, it can run at full throttle. Depending on its production year, the long-stroke 750cc engine generates 17, 21, or 33 horsepower. With this 21 horsepower model, drivers who work their way through the partially synchronized transmission's 3 gears can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 56 seconds. But that's pretty much as fast as the car will go. Christoph says at first the French were skeptical, but they soon grew to love the 4CV. So apart from a few minor alterations, the model remained basically unchanged until production ended in 1961. 1,105,000 of them rolled off the assembly lines. The 4CV was the first French car to sell over 1 million units, ahead of Citroen's 2CV. In Japan, the 4CV was still produced until 1963. Here, the little car was built under the license as the Hino Renault 4CV, but it was affectionately called the Tortoise. Christoph says the 4CV saw the light of day a few months after the VW Beetle went on sale. Together with Citroen's 2CV, the 4CV did for France what the Beetle did for Germany. It brought mobility to the masses. It also established the tradition of building rear-engine cars at Renault, which continued into the 1970s. So he feels the Renault 4CV is definitely a milestone in automotive history. For 15 years, from 1946 to 1961, the 4CV remained a modern mode of transport. Its successor was the Renault 4, a very different but also very successful model. 8 million Renault 4s rolled off the assembly line over the course of 30 years. But it was the 4CV that established Renault's reputation as a compact car specialist.